social media, and this is what ChatGPT kicked out. So he's rolling with it to see if it works.
All right, we're recording now, so you can stop talking shit on Bobby.
I don't give a shit.
Woo! Welcome in, boys. Another episode of the Ordinaree Pod starts right now.
Nice.
And we have a special guest with us.
And it's not Bobby.
And it's not Bobby. It's my hat twin. Sean is in the house with us, boys. What up, Sean?
What up? Hold
And
on,
he's
I
leaving.
stepped away. I'm out of
Just
here.
like last
Done.
week, dude. Same thing. Just like
Done
Bobby.
with you.
Seriously.
Goodness gracious.
I know Bobby did the same thing, but I didn't realize that we were all just geared up. I forgot what podcast this was today. So hold on, there we go. All right,
All right.
better.
Yeah. Well, some of us are geared up. Some of us are yet to be completely geared up. I waited to start this thing before I...
It looks like one of us is wearing Lions colors. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that, brother? What is that? Check out this swag.
Oh look, now everybody's gone.
Oh, shit.
Nice. Nice, Ben. Where'd you get that?
I 3D printed this bad boy myself. I 3D printed this one, and then because Frankie is a Lions fan, and it's a big game this weekend here at the Conderosa, I printed one for him too. So we're both going to be rocking.
All right. I'm ready.
All right, look at it. Finally, I mean, Jesus Christ, wears a Lions gear to the fucking pod.
Lions gear. Jesus Christ, gentlemen. Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I printed out this thing for Frankie, so we're gonna be dueling, chains and logos.
So this is Frankie's first official year being a Lions fan, right?
Yeah, can you imagine being your first year and your team goes to the NFC Championship game?
Not only that, but his team's going against his dad's team.
Yeah, right. I mean, Grandma, hello. Can we just? Oh, what the hell?
I think there's a pretty good chance that the first season I and you were 49ers fans, we also went to the NFC Championship game and probably the Super Bowl. Because we all became fans back when we were winning all the fucking time.
Yeah. By the way,
At
what
least
happened
me
to
and
John just
Ben.
now?
Me and Ben were a little later. I
guess
we
that's
didn't grow up like 10-year-old fucking Niners fans.
No. I guess that is safe to say. Damn it,
We're
Sean.
Sean.
Sean!
If he fucks up my recording, I am going to be furious. He did. It's not. Sean,
Are you doing that on purpose?
Are you doing that on purpose?
No, I'm not doing that on purpose at all. I don't know what's going on. I have really fast internet, so I don't know why it's happening. But you guys are all pixelated the entire time, so I must just have like a blip or something. I don't know. No, I'm good.
All right.
Okay. Well, hopefully it doesn't mess up the recording. Last week when Bobby left a few times, Ben had a hard time putting all the pieces back together.
Yeah.
No, it cut off. I couldn't see or hear you guys at all.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I can fix that in post, as they say. But anyways, yeah, man, it's a big
Going
weekend.
back to what Matt said, Matt, you said you weren't a Niner fan when you were 10, 11?
I really wasn't a football fan at that age. We didn't. Our dad didn't watch football. We just didn't grow up with football. I remember I was like 7th grade. We went up to a church camp like around Christmas time. The Niners were going to the Super Bowl that year. So 7th grade, 88, I think. Was that a year we went, I think?
Yeah.
I remember being up there and Niners were playing and there was a 12-foot painting of a Niner helmet on the wall. And I brought it home hanging up in our bedroom. And we had that in there for like another year.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if I was a Niners fan much before 7th grade. I don't really remember being a football fan much before that.
No.
I'm going to say about 88 probably.
Yeah, around that time is when we came online, as you would say.
Yeah, my first real memory of heartbreak as a Niners fan was it was actually 1990 because they won back-to-back 80, 89. And, of course, same as you, my dad wasn't a football fan. There was never sports on in my house, so I wasn't brought up that way. But I started getting interested in football around 1990, and at that time, the Niners were back-to-back champs. And all the kids at school had starter jackets. And so for Christmas, I asked for a starter jacket, and I wanted a Niners one because, little kids are bandwagoners, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I asked for a Niners starter jacket. I started watching the games. I started checking the box score in the newspaper every Monday morning to see how they did. I wasn't even watching all the games yet.
Yeah.
But once the playoffs came around, I distinctly remember watching that game against the Giants in the NFC Championship game. The Giants beat us, and I was heartbroken. And from that point forward, I could not wait for the next season to start. And I watched all games the following year. Of course, they didn't win again.
I doubt that in Southern California in '88, if we had all the Niners games yet, unless you had cable, because you had Raiders and Rams back there in that area. Yeah. So I doubt we saw much at that time frame.
No, probably not.
No.
Except for when they played the Rams, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Sean, how about you? When did you become a diehard?
Oh, I became a Niner fan probably when I was like 15. So it was later. And then I'm a Niner fan because of Nate and Josh and Steve. That's why I'm a Niner fan, right? So I watched football. I enjoyed football. I actually loved watching the Eagles play, but I wasn't an Eagles fan per se. I just liked liked the individual players on the team. But yeah, I didn't really become a true Niner fan until I was working Hoagie Yogi. When I was like 15 or something like that with
Were you working there at 15?
Yeah. I was allowed to work at 15 and a half or something like that until I turned 16 or something like that.
Hoagie Yogi. I've heard so many stories of your guys' days at Hoagie Yogi, and I feel like that was the pre-Disneyland, right? That's where you guys first connected, and then Disneyland was like where we all connected. You know what I mean? So it's just funny to hear.
Well, we first connected at the theater, but yeah, we all worked at Hoagie Yogi
at the theater.
At the theater. That's
when Josh and I used to sit in the back and watch football on Sundays and let whoever else was scheduled to work with us do everything because we were busy watching football on some little 12-inch screen, like it's
little black
tiny,
and white,
like one of the little things. But yeah, that was it, and then and then it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and then I think that especially during the Harbaugh run is when we were all. When we all finally were just like together in it, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of thin years before that Harbaugh season, and I was still watching all the games, but we were definitely watching them alone. we weren't getting together in packs to watch the games during those years. We weren't watching the. We had some really bad years there.
So this is how bad I was as a football fan. I remember even in high school, because I played water polo, swimmer. I wasn't a football player. I remember having arguments in high school with people saying, it's a sport where a bunch of big, fat white guys excel. How great can it be? So even though I was a Niners fan, I wasn't necessarily an overall diehard football fan, even into early high school. Just because, it was a different sport back then. Guys still had day jobs and shit, Maybe not quite that old.
How old are you?
Dude, early 90s and
they
late
strapped
80s.
on their leather helmets and then they went to the doctor and the fuck? How old are you?
Kurt Warner was still bagging groceries, for God's sake.
I'm pretty sure that when you were in high school, people were making a living being football players. I don't think they had separate jobs at that point.
They were still smoking cigarettes on the sideline, though. I mean, that's there was a different era. It was a different era.
Definitely,
yeah. They weren't the highly trained athletes they are today. Dude, I remember back in high school, you brought up those starter jacket things, dude. I totally remember being that kid in I think it was junior high, actually.
Junior high.
I wanted, I got the Chicago Bulls were winning at that time, and I got the Chicago.
Two, brother.
Well, I remember getting the one Chicago Bulls, dude. It looked just like Sean's, but it was the black, and it had the red little collar, and it said it had the satin red letters on the back. It said Bulls across it, and man, dude, I was just I thought I was the shit walking around in that thing, man. And then I think I lost it somewhere because I was a stupid kid.
I thought your first starter jacket was Notre Dame.
No, I never had a Notre Dame one. I had a hat. I had a Notre Dame hat. I never had a jacket.
Okay. All right. I'll take it back.
Yeah. And
I won't slander you. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
You can't let his USC friends hear about it.
No. I do. I fully admit. I used to. I used to root for Notre Dame. This is how stupid it was. I used to root for Notre Dame because I liked the Rocket Ishmael, and I thought he was the shit, right? And I thought that was the coolest thing ever, right? And I thought, we are Irish, so fighting Irish, and
You probably saw Rudy.
It was pre-Rudy. It was pre-Rudy.
Sean Rudy.
Austin, okay. Yeah. Sean Austin was still a young pup at that time. And then when UCLA basketball was a big deal, I was the classic bandwagoner as a kid. UCLA basketball was a big deal back in whatever that was with Toby, what's his face, and the O'Bannon brothers and shit. I was rocking UCLA shit. I was like, dude, I couldn't
Bruins.
decide. I was all Pac-12 though. I mean, I guess Notre Dame wasn't Pac-12, but so anyway.
I think all kids are bandwagon fans. That's why there's so many people that are like, you ask them who their favorite teams are, and they're like, the Yankees, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's like, kids grow up that way, especially when they don't have like an influence in their life or like a parent that's a diehard fan of a particular team, right? But
yeah.
Thankfully, when I got into basketball, the Lakers were good. And I didn't really get into baseball until really that World Series run in 2002. I mean, I wasn't really watching baseball before that. So, but once you build an allegiance to a team, it sticks, right?
Yeah. Speaking of this allegiance, I think it's pretty obvious who we all are rooting for this weekend. But we got some big games this weekend, guys. 2 huge games. And, I mean, the shit talking out there this weekend on Brock and the 49ers or this week has just been fucking outlandish. Can we talk about
I fucking love it. I fucking love it. So, I mean, I said in the thread, last week, I'm like, I'm kind of sick of all this. Hey, we're going to blow through the Packers shit, because I really didn't think we were going to blow through the Packers. I didn't think it was going to be easy. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was either. But I just thought that we didn't match up very well against the Packers. The Packers were playing really well, and they were coming in, and it was going to be a little wet. And they were just, they had nothing to lose, right? And they were going to come and do this. And I thought that, it was going to be a lot tougher game than just a walk in the park. I love the shit talk against Purdy, because now it's like, okay, are you actually positioning us? I know that we're still favorites, right? Still pretty heavily favorites. But is the media actually positioning us as underdogs, as though fucking Jared Goff is going to beat us? Like, I mean, I'm not trying to be like overly confident either, but it's Jared Goff. Like, we remember this, right? And he's not playing in his dome. He is playing away. He is playing outside, away from his dome. He's playing against a Niners team that he's has not necessarily this Niners team, but he has history of playing the Niners many times and getting beat by the Niners many times.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not hearing about how, or maybe I just don't listen to the right places, we're not hearing about how Jared Goff is in no way prepared for this game, right? Is in no way, he looks shaky. He's doing this, that, or the other, because the guy doesn't throw further than 7 yards down the field, right?
Have you seen Goff's dome splits?
What was that?
Have you seen Goff's dome splits?
I haven't, no.
Oh, they've been talking about it this week. Jared Goff, first of all, amazingly, only had 2 games all year this year outside of a dome. For whatever reason, the way their schedule laid out, everything was indoors. And they've been talking about his dome splits because his passer rating when he plays in a dome is like 119, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then when he plays outside, his passer rating is in the 80s. So, I mean, there's a pretty significant difference in the way he plays, depending on where he plays. And I think that makes sense. It kind of goes with his, the whole knock on him coming out was that, that he's got small hands and that he's not very mobile in the pocket. And there's a lot of different characteristics that can make you successful when you're playing outside versus in a dome. And that I think is encouraging to me that, that he's got that split.
It is. I mean, he's a hometown guy though, right?
He is. Yeah, he's from Northern California.
Everybody keeps talking about that out here, going, "Man, he's going back home. He's a Bay guy." And I'm like, "Fuck off!
It doesn't come on, anything
bullshit."
I do know.
It's a Bay guy. It's. And I'm not trying to be overly confident either, but I think we match up better against the Lions than we do against the Packers. I think that's the bottom line. You said that a bunch of times
in the thread, or not a bunch. You said it. Why do you think that? How do we match up well?
I can give a couple examples.
I'm going to start with how we
Nathan's
don't match up well.
I can give you examples.
He's
rubbing his hands together.
I'm going to start with the opposite of that, though, right? So the place that we are weak against, if anything, even though we just ended our 50-game streak of holding opponents under 100 yards, but that's kind of skewed, right? Because they didn't, it's just a skewed stat. I think that they can run against us, and I think that that's where our weakness is. But I think that overall, defensively, we are the better team, and I believe that our defense is better than their offense is. And I think that the way that they're going to play their offense with those kind of like short passes and things like that, I think that we can play well against that. And I think we can get to the quarterback. I think that's really what's going to be. And I think that people talk about. Or all the things that people talk about, even with Brock, or maybe I'm just getting really defensive of Brock, right? But like like all the shit that they talk about him, like, oh, he gets shaky if you get pressure on him. But I mean, like, Goff's got a history of that, right? And
Right.
he might be safe. He might play it safe. And mind you, he is playing better in Detroit than he ever was in LA. Or maybe LA didn't give him a fair shake, right? Whatever it may be. Maybe he fucked the coach's wife or whatever it was that happened. But like
allegedly.
I just think that especially if we have Debo, right? We have too much explosiveness on offense for their defense.
Yeah.
I don't think their defense, their pass defense, I believe, is not great, right? And I believe that we should be able to come out and just kind of start shredding all over them. I think Debo's huge, right? I think it's a big part if we have Debo there, but I don't think it's a deal breaker for us. I think that we looked a little shakier last week with him going out because we planned on him being there, right?
Right.
Shanahan didn't even he still just decided to try to run that run play with JJ at the beginning of the second half where it was like,
well, and JJ looked great. I mean, if we're gonna,
JJ looked great as a receiver, not when he got handed the ball to him. Not
when he got handed the ball. Yes, I thought that. We all thought that was weird. We all thought the same thing. You know what I mean? But do you guys? Hold on. I want to get Sean off his soapbox for a second. I want to ask you a question. Do you guys think that we're going to match up well against Amon-Ra? I mean, he's been just slicing up everybody he plays.
He's little.
I know he's little. He's little, but he's
that's an area that concerns me because Amon-Ra plays in the slot, and we have a difficulty playing against slot receivers.
Yes,
and especially ever since Hufanga went out, our DBs in general just haven't played at the same level as they were when he was there. So yeah, that is concerning. But he's a superstar, and you're going to play superstars when you're making a playoff run, right? Yeah. You're going to have to see one every week.
He can't beat us by himself.
No,
he can have a great game, and he still can't beat us by himself.
I mean, he did a damn good job. He did he did a pretty good job beating the last team he played pretty much by himself, dude. I mean, it was Amon-Ra. It's just like, Jesus Christ, they cannot stop this guy.
I got a question for Nate because I know he's eager to break some stuff down. Sean said that we match up good against their run. I thought the same thing.
I said we do not match up good.
Oh, I think we do because with Gibbs, they like to run outside. And I think we're better defending the outside run than the inside run. I think we get chewed up in the middle sometimes. So I think that we are going to be better against Gibbs than Montgomery, I think. Nate, what do you think run-wise on this?
Yeah, I mean, you laid it out perfectly. Montgomery is going to be more of a challenge for us, I think. But when I watch the Lions, that is one thing that stands out to me is that they have such dynamic weapons on offense that, there's no way to contain all of them, right? You got Laporta, you got, Amon-Ra, you got Gibbs, you got Montgomery.
Zach Ertz.
Right, Zach Ertz now. So I don't think the game plan is going to be hold them to under 20 points. I think we're going to expect them to score points. I think the game plan has to be that we have to be firing on all cylinders on offense in order to it's going to be a shootout. And Sean brought up a great point. They have one of the worst pass defenses of all the playoff teams. We should be able to pass on them easily. That's going to be an area where we're going to be targeting, pretty heavily. They have a great run defense, so you may not see McCaffrey running up the middle. He's probably going to have to play a lot of those swing passes and things of that nature to get more involved, especially if Debo doesn't play. You may see McCaffrey more in a Debo-type role. One advantage that we have, though, is, and I think at least one of them, but maybe two of their offensive linemen are injured. And they have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And their left guard and their center are both questionable to play. It's looking like the left guard's going to be out for sure.
Center came back in last week and played, though.
He did. He came back in, but I think that was more like an adrenaline boost that he had. But
right?
He hasn't practiced at all this week. So, but just real quick, I wanted to comment on what Sean said about the JJ swing pass. Did you guys see what Shanahan said about that? He equated it to Ron Burgundy reading off the teleprompter. He actually said this. He said he had the play dialed up and he fucking got to it and he just read it and then he realized afterwards, oh shit, Debo's not there.
I love the honesty. That's great.
Yeah, it's great. They're just people too. You know what I mean? Like they blow it sometimes. We just don't ever see it when they do, or we don't hear about it. It's just great.
So who would you guys rather face? So I know we have to get past this game, but there's another game being played this weekend, and we could pick who we think's going to win. But I think it's more interesting to say, who do we want to face? Because both of these would be a rematch in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't know.
What the Ravens just did to us. It's hard to say it, but I think the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about that. I was just talking to this out with my other buddy, and and we were saying that like, yeah, it's the Chiefs. The Chiefs are obviously the Chiefs, right? You can never count out Patrick Mahomes and fucking Kelsey or Kels, as he likes to be called, I guess. Apparently, you guys hear that? You hear that? See that thing about his dad
Yeah,
called his Ashton?
that's a couple years
Yeah.
old.
Oh, it is a couple years old. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. See, what do you know? But yeah, we were talking about how they are who they are, obviously, and they're dangerous. But like Matt said, I mean, the Ravens, dude, what we just went through with them is fucking like scary, right? And you're just like, what the fuck?
We were missing pieces, I know, but still,
yeah. I mean, it's the same exact thing. Like, I mean, you know that the Chiefs are gonna fucking play well next week or this weekend, right? You know that's going to be a fucking
that's
game,
the whole thing.
Dude.
I think instinctually you want to say, oh, I don't want to face the Ravens again because of how bad they beat us. But think about this. The Chiefs were underdogs against the Bills and they beat them. The Chiefs are going in this weekend underdogs against the Ravens. If they beat the Ravens, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is showing you time and time again that when the going gets tough, he fucking finds a way to flip the switch. I don't know. I mean, I think going into a Super Bowl and Andy Reid being one of the best coaches in the league when he has a week of rest, right? Coming out of a bye, he has like this ridiculous record where he never loses games coming out of a bye. I don't know. I mean, I think that the Chiefs might be a little bit more scrappy in that regard, whereas the Ravens, yes, they're tough, but you can game plan for them a little bit better.
Sean?
Hey, first of all, I guess preface that Nate said, let's win first. I don't really care. Let's get there. Right. Yeah. I'd like to see the Ravens. I don't know.
There's also that revenge factor, right?
That's a flex. I love it.
I'd like to see the rematch of Christmas, right? Because I think that Baltimore gets so much love, and I get it. They're very good. Actually, I guess I'm not mad about the Baltimore love. I just don't. I like Lamar Jackson. I think he's great. I just don't get why it's all Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. Lamar Jackson's the greatest, this, that, and the other. Because he's not. He's not.
And, but he's holding the whole city on his back, I heard.
Right. Yeah, he's holding,
well,
I don't quite get it. I'm not diminishing him as a player and a quarterback and everything like that. I think that he's great, right? I think that he's well deserving of the contract he got, and it was kind of bullshit that he had to wait for all of it in the offseason and what he went through to get there. But that doesn't make him an MVP because someone didn't believe in him before the offseason, and then he put in a top 5 quarterback performance, right?
Yeah,
top 5, maybe. I don't even know if it is top 5, right? It's like, and I'm not, and again, I'm not making the argument for it to be Purdy over that. I'm just being like, hey, this whole thing is like grown to something that's so crazy that it's like, okay, like he's good and he's doing a great job leading his team, but that defense is doing a great job, right? But answer the question, I'd rather just see let's just go for it. The rematch about Christmas, and then it'll be the week after Lamar wins his MVP, and if we win, maybe we can have a game where like Purdy takes us to the championship. We can be like, great, enjoy your MVP, right?
I mean, definitely. I believe we'll see the Ravens at the end. Is what I think. I think I'd rather
definitely. If we beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl, it definitely gives you that little stamp on your resume that you got the revenge on the team that whooped you, right? Yeah. Whereas if you beat the Chiefs, then everybody always says, well, they got lucky they never had to face the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Do you think Brock is having? Do you think he got beat bad? Right, he had one of his worst games he's ever played against them. And do you think he has any either he's fired up and he wants to play them to fucking show that he's got it and he's going to kick their ass, or do you think he's got a little hesitance to want to play them again? How do you think Brock's feeling about it? Speculate, boys.
Have you guys ever seen Brock really show the dog inside him?
Well, there was actually an interesting moment in this last game where he yelled at Ray-Ban McLeod for running a bad route. And I saw an interview with George Kittle the other day, and he says that was like the first time he saw Brock really step up and yell at a player. And he's like, we need to see more out of that. Yep. But I mean, he's a second-year guy, and he's such a humble kid. I mean, I think that is an area in his game that will develop over the years. But no, that's not really. If there's any hesitancy to play the Ravens, or if there's any revenge factor in his mind, he's not gonna show his cards on either one of those things. He's such a neutral, down the middle, cliche. I'm just here to play another game 1 week at a time, so.
Yeah. I just, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going to change the subject. So go ahead and finish.
Change the subject, man. I just threw that out there because I was just curious. Go for it. Change it.
I think the big thing that we need to be talking about, which for some reason not everybody is talking about, or again maybe I don't pay enough attention, is what we talked about in the thread at the end of the half in the last game, right? Which was Shanahan kind of managing the clock. Did it do the thing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Managing, look at Super Bowl when he was the offensive coordinator with the Falcons, right? Super Bowl when he was our coach against the Chiefs, right? And we're not in the Super Bowl yet, but this is a playoff thing, right? So we're going to be in situations where we're not blowing every team out, but we need to be able to be aggressive at some point in time to make sure that we hold our lead. And I think that Shanahan keeps showing us that he is not very good at that. And so, and I'll even bring that back to the question about the Lions, right? Because the Lions are going to have that firepower, and like Amon-Ra can have do a ton, right? We need to stay out there and stay aggressive, and not just manage. What was it? Was it Barnwell's tweet that you shared or something like that? Nate, right, where it was like, he's giving up 7 at the risk of giving up 3. Essentially, is what he's saying. So it's like
he plays scared.
I think that's my bigger concern.
Well, I'm going to build on that concern because I saw something, and Nate, you may have the numbers with this kind of stuff, but something like in our last 5 playoff games, we only have 3 sacks. Screw you back to last year. It's fucking insane.
No, I actually
less than 1 per game. My numbers may be off by a number or 2, but it's less than 1 a game in the playoffs, and that is not our defense.
I mean, Bosa was having trouble getting in last week. I mean, he was struggling. They were double teaming, and
if we don't get pressure on Goff, Goff's going to play fine.
I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I did read that Bosa in his first 4 playoff games, he had 8 sacks, and in his last 4 playoff games, he has 0.
Dude, but it's our whole team. It's not just him. It's crazy.
Yeah. Here's what I'm worried about. Did you guys know that our kicker, Jake Moody, his parents are lifelong Lions fans?
Oh.
I know how I feel about rookie kickers.
Whoa.
And his parents have actually told him that they're going to be rooting for the Lions because the Lions have never been this far and they've never been in the Super Bowl.
Bench him.
I agree. I mean, how do you deal with that as a rookie, having that conflict in your mind that you're going to break your parents' hearts?
Nah. Dude, come on. He's a professional. He's getting paid for this, and what team did he root for growing up? Is he a Lions fan? That's what we need to find out. Because if that's the case, then we got some real conspiracy here.
Well, of course he was. Yeah, I mean, he went to Michigan. He played for Harbaugh at Michigan. I mean, they're Michigan boys.
Oh, that is tough. How do you? Oh, I've never even thought about that. You going up against your team that you've rooted for your whole life, and you have to kick the field goal?
Not just any team. It's not like he's from New England, right?
No,
if he was from New England, he'd be like, "Fuck it, they've been there before." No, I mean, he knows that the whole city is going to be heartbroken if he kicks a field goal and knocks the Lions out of the playoffs.
He'll never be able to go home again.
Man, he better be a little bit more of a professional than that. He just needs to make some damn kicks.
Yeah, he does.
I'm also looking at stats, so I guess I was shitting all over Goff a little too much. But yeah.
Dude, that is a hell of a storyline, Nate. We got to follow that one closely because Jesus Christ, that boy better make that kick. He better never come back to San Francisco because that conspiracy, that's right there. Woo! All right. Well, hey, we talked about the Niners enough. Let's talk about the other game a little bit. I mean, we got it's a big game, Chiefs, Baltimore.
Hold on. We skipped all last week's games. Was anybody surprised at any of the outcomes? We don't have to do a lot. Anybody surprised at anything?
No. The one that was most surprising was how difficult the Packers were to me. I didn't think the Packers were going to be that tough, but
best young receiving core in the game.
I picked the Texans to upset, but no, of course it wasn't surprising to me that the Ravens won the game. Everything else I thought went, as expected.
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens game was, it just seemed like every time Lamar needed to do something, he did something. You know what I mean? And they it's just like.
I was super interested at the beginning of the first half of that Ravens game, right? I was like locked in. I'm like, yeah, fucking Texans. And then I fell asleep in the second half because I was just like, oh, there goes Baltimore. They're just okay. There's nothing's happening anymore. I was like, let me take a nap. Even
the Bills collapse, and I know it happened with the last second field goal miss and all that stuff, but even the Bills collapse wasn't surprising. All four of us picked the Bills, but I think we were picking with our hearts, right? We
were.
didn't want to see the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Talk about a storyline. Talk about a storyline there, man. Wide right. Holy shit, dude. That's got to be that kicker's probably getting death threats right now. I feel bad for him.
Whoever posted that leaf blower thing, I forgot to laugh at the time. Funny now, thinking about it. It's just funny.
Here's a fun storyline for you guys.
Yeah,
I saw this tweet. Somebody dug this up from 2017. So as you guys probably remember, the Chiefs did not use their pick to draft Patrick Mahomes. Do you know whose pick they used?
Chargers.
Remember.
It was Buffalo's pick.
Oh.
So Buffalo had that pick, and Buffalo traded it to Kansas City for 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick. And somebody dug up this tweet where Buffalo, the Bills' official team media, put it out there saying, "Pleasure doing business with you, Chiefs." And then if you look at all the comments, everybody's like, "We fleeced them. We fleeced them." And then they brought it up, and they're like, "How's it feel now, guys? You basically gave them Patrick Mahomes."
Do we know what the first round picks they got are? Who they got? Does anybody know? I'm just curious.
I didn't far into it, but I thought it was pretty funny.
That is funny. Well, who would have been in that same year as Kelsey? I mean, as Mahomes.
I don't know.
So long ago.
But the pick that they got was the 27th pick at the end of the first, and then the other pick they got was the following year in the first. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe one of those picks resulted in Josh Allen, but I didn't dig into it.
Yeah.
Right, this week's game. Bring it back.
Yeah. Well, okay. We don't need to talk about the Niners game anymore. We all know who we're picking in that game. But let's talk Chiefs and Baltimore real quick. I mean, how do we look at that game, and how do we feel about moving forward? Who do you like? Both of you guys, three of you guys.
Does it feel weird thinking that it's going to be a low scoring game? Like, I know that sounds weird with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, right? But like, it's kind of like, do you feel like these two defenses are kind of going to step up against each other? Because the Chiefs defenses look really good, right?
Yeah, Chris Jones.
I'm not saying it's gonna be like 6-3, right? But but like if we say more of a defensive game, right? I don't think it would be as surprising as most people would think to come down between those two. And I really don't think it would be surprising if Mahomes ends up beating the Ravens either. Like he figures out a way. Andy Reid figures out a way. We got, the NFL's got to make sure that the Taylor Swift money is still coming in for the Super Bowl. You just got to, all those things need to be in play. Yeah, all of a sudden Kelsey's like, he didn't do shit since week 11, right? All of a sudden he's like returned to form, in the playoffs. So
big game last week. Big game.
Are you picking the Chiefs?
Game, and they can show up in big games, right? You see a lot of that in a lot of different sports at this point in time, right? It's like kind of, all right, put what you got to do, what you got to do to make it to the playoffs, and then show up once you get there, right? And that's what the Chiefs do. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up with the Chiefs beating them. I'm gonna have to jump. That's why I'm giving my information.
Yeah. We gotta wrap. We're wrapping this up in like 3 minutes, so let's go.
Okay.
Chiefs.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You got Chiefs.
I'm gonna go ahead and take. No, I'm gonna take the Ravens.
Ravens. Okay. Matt, what do you give us? 2 minutes, or give us 1 minute?
I got it. I picked the Ravens, but because if it was the Chiefs make the Super Bowl, and you have. Sorry, guys, I got to do it. You got T Swizzle up top, sitting up there in the booth. She's going to sit up there at the halftime watching washed up Usher at a fucking, superstar of the fucking world, watching this dude that has been irrelevant for years? That'd be too weird. Go Baltimore.
That is so out of date.
Matt, you're so out of it that you think that Usher is not relevant.
He's like one of the biggest producers in the world.
Hey Ben, before you make your pick,
come on, nobody's bigger than her.
Yeah,
Ben, I want to remind you before you make your pick. You and I are both 500 right now, and which means that this trend holds that we each have to get one right and one wrong this week. And we're both picking the Niners. That means we both have to pick the same AFC team so that we can get that one wrong.
Okay, so
or don't.
Well, I'm picking the Chiefs. You don't have to pick the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are winning.
No, I beautiful mind going right there.
I was just telling you, I was saying, I was talking to my buddy. I said, you can't, there's just something about fucking Mahomes and Kelsey and these guys. They just figure it out every time. And I don't think Lamar and them looked like totally awesome last week against the Texans. You know what I mean? So and I think the Chiefs are way better than the Texans. So I think the Chiefs are going to probably take it home. And so I think which scares the shit out of me because I think we're going to win this week against Detroit. So, whoo, repeat of the Super Bowl, right? There we go.
Well, it's going to be a repeat either way if we win. So
Yeah.
No, I know, but the most recent, right? Yeah.
Well,
have you started
Nate and I will
working
be
out-
there. So
So, Ben, have you started working out any of your apology thing to Frankie for when the game's over? Like, you got to be prepping for this a little bit, right?
No, but I said that I was telling Debbie last night. Like, I was like, either way, one of us is going to be really sad, and the other one's going to have to make the other one feel better, of course. And
you care more than he does. Just remember that you care more than
I
he
do.
does.
It's more important. Mine's
He has
more
a lot
important.
more life left to watch the Lions.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, guys, let's wrap it up because it's time to go. I got to go get the kids. Sean's got a meeting. Matt and Nathan, I don't know what they're doing, but they got something to do. All right. Well, hey, we'll see. We'll see you next week with a Niners victory over the Lions, baby. All right, guys. Love you.
Thanks for being here, Sean.
That's a wrap on the Ordinaree Pod. See you next week, guys. Woo! Go Niners.